Funding. With some of the forecasts, like you mentioned.
Welcome everyone. Good morning thank you all for joining us. We're about to get started. Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome to Opportunity Youth, a cross-border dialogue. We are very pleased to see such a terrific turnout today. And I'd like to first thank the Casey Foundation for graciously hosting us here in their lovely space. Hello also to everyone who is joining us virtually through the live streaming, which is being posted on IYF's Facebook and YouTube locations. So thanks for all of you for joining us. My name is Angie Benza, and I'm the Regional Director at IYF, International Youth Foundation, for our work in the Americas, which is in Latin America and the United States. I've been working on youth issues for about 20 years, mostly in Latin America and the US, but also around the globe. And for those of you who don't know International Youth Foundation, IYF is a global nonprofit that is working to help young people achieve success in school, work, and life. We are based here in Baltimore, but we are actually just beginning to really focus our work on the US, as we have been primarily focused globally until now. And of course, Baltimore as our home city figures prominently in our plans. I wanted to, with support of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, IYF is implementing a project focused on reconnecting opportunity youth to education, employment, or training. The purpose of this program, called Reconnecting Youth, is to share global approaches and promising practices for increasing youth connection and resilience, and sharing those best practices from abroad with practitioners, policymakers, and funders in the United States. The goal is to stimulate cross-border dialogue and learning in the hopes that all of us who are working with opportunity youth, whether in the US or abroad, can learn from each other. We began by doing a listening tour and a scan into what is being done around the United States around opportunity youth, and of course that included many conversations with practitioners and funders and policymakers here in Baltimore as well. And then we identified some global practices that could resonate and that we found could be valuable to share. In addition to documenting these various approaches and models, which are now housed on a new website, the URL is found in a IYF fact sheet that is actually on this resource table. So if you haven't made your way over there, please take a look and grab some resources. And so in addition to documenting various approaches and putting them on this website for anyone to be able to access and look at, we've also been pairing organizations in the US with specific organizations abroad, mostly in Latin America, to do a deeper, more targeted exchange of knowledge. And so far we've paired an organization in Brazil with a nonprofit in New Orleans, and then also an organization from Tijuana with key practitioners here in Baltimore. And the latter is what we're here to talk about today and share some of the experiences that this has produced. This exchange of learning began this summer and included an initial trip of representatives from several Baltimore City agencies to Tijuana to see up close a program called Orale, which is also orienting youth to the world of work, that works with out-of-school, out-of-work young people to help reconnect them to education or employment, while also providing holistic services around health education and health services. The program that the Baltimore folks visited is being run by an organization called Pro Salud, and you will be hearing from them and about their program shortly. This week, representatives from Pro Salud came to Baltimore for sort of the other side of the exchange. They came to Baltimore to deepen the learning exchange on this side of the border. And what you've been watching on the screen here as you've been eating your lunch and waiting for us to start are photos from both the Tijuana exchange and the Baltimore exchange. Some of these are just from this week. Some of you were involved in that, and you'll recognize the different activities. So while the Pro Salud folks were here in Baltimore, they did a number of things. They They visited the Youth Opportunity, or YO Center in West Baltimore, which is run by the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, and also visited a site where young people from that center are able to get jobs in Baltimore at a local hospital. They also learned about the city schools re-engagement center and visited a school that provides holistic support to vulnerable young people so that they can stay in school and continue to get their education. They toured a Baltimore Health Department clinic and also met with members of that agency's Youth Advisory Council. And they also met with other organizations in Baltimore that are working with Latino youth. So they've seen a really interesting scope of organizations in Baltimore. They've been able to really get an understanding about Baltimore and what the young people in Baltimore face. And by all accounts, this exchange has been extremely rich and has really demonstrated that the commonalities of community circumstances, of challenges, of possible solutions for helping young people who are out of school and out of work, those commonalities really far outweigh any cultural or contextual differences that might exist between Tijuana and Baltimore. And our speakers today will give you a glimpse into what has been learned and experienced through these two exchange trips. The agenda today is in your folders in the back on the right side. So in case you haven't found it, please feel free to refer to that. I'll give you a brief overview of what to expect today and who we'll be hearing from. We're going to first hear from Jennifer Ngandu, the Senior Program Officer at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Jennifer has been at Robert Wood Johnson Foundation for about 4 years. She has worked previously in issues around social justice and advocacy work around immigrant and refugee rights. And she was also born in Zambia, so she herself represents a global and U.S. exchange. In addition, next we will hear from Marion Rubio, who is a member of Pro Salud's board of directors. She is also a university professor and professional psychoanalyst and a founding member of an organization called Grupo Grita, which does research and interventions around psychoanalysis in Tijuana. She will tell you a little bit about Pro Salud's program that has been sort of the basis for some of the exchange about experiences and best practices. Next, you will hear from a group of young people in Baltimore who led a participatory research project funded by the KCE Foundation to engage the voices and experiences of young people in Baltimore and better understand their challenges and needs related to entering the workforce. And finally, we will have a panel discussion with 3 Baltimore City representatives, those who visited the Tijuana to visit Pro Salud, and who have been on the other side here hosting our international guests, to hear about their insights into what they have learned from this exchange, what kind of experiences they've had, and what they think might be interesting to carry forward. And certainly along the way, we'll be looking for your engagement through some Q&A, and we really want to hear your discussions as you reflect on what you hear from our various panelists and speakers. IWAP is really excited to be facilitating this dialogue here in Baltimore, and we firmly believe in the value of cross-cultural learning about best practices and around youth development. It's what we've been doing since we were founded over 25 years ago. And we really hope you will benefit from hearing about the experiences that where we're going to share, and that you'll be inspired by the insights that have emerged so far in this exchange. So without further ado, I'd like to pass the podium over to Jennifer Ngandu of Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Buenos dias. I am going to start where you might not expect it. So let me start by talking about babies. So according to Ronald Dahl, he's the director of the Center for the Developing Adolescents, babies fall 14,000 times before they learn how to walk. Parents and caretakers know that trying to walk is a dangerous endeavor for their little ones, and yet it's a skill that they hopefully and ideally will master for their lives. So we all, take care to cover the hard edges of a furniture for babies. We help them take their biggest steps on soft carpeting or grass, and we cheer them on when they take a tumble. When they take tumble number 13,997, 98, 99, 14,000 until they learn to walk. Adolescents or young people are going through one of the most significant developmental periods of their lives. Almost everything is changing physiologically and cognitively to prepare them for the future. Their future as workers, their future as parents, their future lives. And yet, how often do we provide the space for adolescents or young people to fall so that they can master a skill? Do we create a soft landing or cheer them on to spur their pursuit of a talent or a skill for life? Most young people are lucky to get a few chances to make a mistake or take a fall. But for others, making a mistake may cost them dearly and may affect their trajectory for the rest of their lives. So, hi again, I'm Jennifer Nandu. I'm a senior program officer with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, which is the largest philanthropy in the United States focused on improving health and healthcare. We have a vision to build a culture of health across the United States, and I couldn't be more thrilled to join you on this learning journey with the International Youth Foundation and Reconnecting Youth. I also want to thank Annie and Casey Foundation, both for advising a lot of this work, but for opening up their space for this conversation today. I quickly want to talk about a few things. I want to uplift opportunity youth and adolescents again. I want to tell you why Robert Wood Johnson Foundation as a US-based foundation is learning globally. And I want to discuss briefly what we hope will be achieved through this great partnership with Connecting Youth and the International Youth Foundation. So first, back to young people. Young people have always been instrumental in helping to weave the fabric of this great nation. Young people are the change makers, and they have been a driving force in almost every social change here in the United States as well as around the world. They are doing it today as dreamers or undocumented youth, fighting for their right to be recognized. They are doing it as young people who are fighting for everyone to say that Black Lives Matter. Practically, young people will absolutely be a driving force because of their sheer size. Generation Z and millennials are the largest generation since the baby boomers. And so, our future depends on them. The period of adolescence is a period of incredible potential. It is the age of opportunity, and unfortunately, all young people have not been able to access those opportunities. And so, our future hangs in a little bit of a delicate balance. So roughly 4.9 million young people ages 16 to 24 are what we call opportunity youth. And in Baltimore City, 1 in 5 youth ages 18 to 24, that's about 18,000 young people fit into this category. But this is not just a US thing, this is a global phenomenon. The term opportunity youth refers to young people who are not in school, training, or work. And it highlights the fact that with the right opportunities, these young people will have the potential to accomplish amazing things. 1/3 of the world's 1.2 million youth are opportunity youth. So RWJF believes that cross-border dialogue is key to finding solutions to this issue. And as a foundation for 40 plus years, we've been focused on the United States, which is 4 short years ago. RWJF launched its Global Ideas for US Solutions portfolio. And that work we immediately embrace this idea that we need to be doing more to explore the area of opportunity youth. At RWJF, we seek to build a culture where everyone has the opportunity to pursue a healthy life. But that means that good ideas have no borders. We want to learn how other countries have undergone significant cultural shifts and have brought about large-scale change and improve the health of well-being. We want to uncover insights and accelerate efforts to do this in the United States and elsewhere. We're actively exploring how models, policies, and approaches across the world and other countries can be adapted to the United States to promote health equity and to foster well-being. And we've seen the many ways that this has been essential in our other work. Take, for instance, a program called Headspace, which has brought mental health supports to young people in the United States. Despite different cultural contexts, we know that the challenges facing opportunity youth around the world are so similar. In fact, I would argue that cultural context may be critical, different cultural contexts may be critical to improve opportunities for youth in the United States. For instance, we know that many countries in Latin America, Central and South America, youth are seen as the protagonists in their own story. There is a strong belief in their self-determination and their agency to build the solutions. How often is the same thing true in the United States? So that's why we partnered with the International Youth Foundation to help uplift solutions for opportunity youth. In 2016, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation began work with the International Youth Foundation to form a new initiative, Reconnecting Youth, Exchanging Global Lessons. And I have to just give a shout out to Shannon with her beautiful twins. I know, sorry. Who helped raise up a lot of this work. But this 2-year initiative seeks to identify and share innovative global approaches for increasing youth connection, but bring in the perspectives of practitioners, policy makers, and funders across the United States as well. In many ways, I think this is built upon the principles as youth as their protagonists in their own story, and as Reconnecting Youth has been developed, IYF put the perspectives of young people at the center of this work. Guiding the initiative is a global advisory committee composed of practitioners and policymakers and funders and researchers in the U.S. Who have worked on this issue, but most importantly, some of these experts are young people from across the globe, including youth leaders in Baltimore. I didn't see Shawnice Jackson. Is she here today? No? Okay, but she is from Baltimore. And the research and the learning exchanges have been with youth at the helm of the design of those exchanges. So I'll just switch to saying what we hope to accomplish. And in many ways, we want to accomplish what young people want to accomplish. There are several themes that have emerged from the work that's been done already. One, youth are assets, young people are assets, and they want to be seen in that way. And that we must have meaningful youth involvement in the design, development, and delivery of programs. In other words, organizations that realize the profound and essential role of young people must recognize the profound and essential role that young people play in addressing social challenges. Young people want better preparation for life. And Opportunity Youth have talked about the important need for emotional, social, emotional, and life skills, and how you integrate those into more traditional academic, technical, and vocational training. Young people want us to tap into their talents and want us to think about the creative ways, engagement and recruitment into programming that involves things like sports, play, arts, that appeal to many of the things that they enjoy most in life. And finally, they want the ability to be employed, to get a good job, and to design their employment for the future. And we found the need for organizations to tap into organizations who use analysis of the labor market and employer engagement to ensure that they're acquiring the skills they need to succeed. So these exchanges have already produced very fruitful relationships, whether it's from Brazil to New Orleans, from Mexico to Baltimore. And this work that has reinforced that for sustainable and lasting change to occur, young people have to be the protagonists in their own story. It is not up to philanthropists or funders or organizations to think that we have to save them. Yet but we're here to shift the script. We're here to help provide the scaffolding that young people have when they need someone to help change the narrative, when they need the space to take risks, to take falls, and to get up and not have that determine the rest of their lives. So we are so glad to be partnering with the International Youth Foundation on this work and reconnecting youth. And I'll turn it back over to you, Angie.
Thank you so much, Jen. We're just as thrilled to be working with Robert Wood Johnson Foundation as well. It's been a fantastic partnership, and we're looking forward to keeping it going. So I'd like to turn us over now to Marion Rubio from ProSalud, who is going to give you a quick explanation of the work that ProSalud is doing under a project called Orale. Hopefully I can get this to, all right. So Marion, please, welcome, thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor for me to be here to tell you about the Orale program, which is the protagonist to Tijuana-Baltimore exchange. First, the contextualize. Tijuana has a population of more than 1.6 million inhabitants, and I'm sorry. Nearly 30% of region youth aged 15 to 28 are not working school. It's a really sad numbers. The social problems affecting our youth today, it's unemployment, low quality education and dropouts, drug addiction, juvenile delinquency, teenage pregnancy, structural poverty. Findings: youth are vulnerable to commit criminal acts because of the lack of a positive development opportunities with their communities. 4 of 10 suicides are committed by young people between 15 and 29 years old. Our intuitive peer-to-peer training and support is a highlight for this program, and peer-to-peer methodology combines soft skills, instruction, employability, training, and job placement services, as well as health education and one-on-one mentoring. This is like an equation. Do you have life and work skills plus health education, equal and holistic approach? Life and work skills and health education. We have self-confidence, responsibility, teamwork, communication, leadership development, critical thinking, goal settings, resume writing, and job interview for this part. On health education, and this is important, reproductive and sexual health, substance abuse prevention, nutrition, behavioral health, mental and mental health. This is a program stage. The first one is training of peer trainers, 40 hours. Then the youth recruitment and selection for 3 weeks. And then youth peer-to-peer training, a workshop of 8 weeks. And then job educational placement and follow-up for 4 months. Okay, in this program are 3 Orally has 3 key players, and this is the facilitator, the counselor, and the mentor. The facilitator teaches life and job skills and delivers health lessons. The counselor provides 4 months of job educational placement support and build business and academic partnerships. And the mentor offers youth one-on-one support to serving the achievement goals. Wrap-around service for youth participants or vocational oriented medicals and dental services, HBI testing, contraceptive distribution, psychological counseling, child care services, scholarships for high school and technical training, and employment mediation. And this, the community-based service where youth needs used to be. Okay, this is for the program results. 40 peer trainers trained to date, more than 800 at-risk youth benefit, 51% female and 49% male. More than 100 business providing employment opportunities for the young graduates. And 85% up retention rate, no type provide to the youth participant, then 85% placement rate, either an education, employment, or both, and then 88% employees satisfied with the performance youth placed. This binational exchange has been a nurturing experience in many ways. I can conclude that is in spite of different contexts, different cultures, different countries. At the end, the youth needs a space in which he or she can be listening to and help. He is where our jobs come to life and gain importance, gain meaning. We still have a lot of work to do and share, but I'm certain together we will make it through. On behalf of ProSalud members, I would like to thank IYF, Reconnecting Youth, and Robert Wood Johnson Foundation for making this possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marion. That was very interesting, and I think hopefully you guys got to have a flavor of the kind of work that's being done in Tijuana, and also hopefully saw some common themes that you all maybe can understand from your own work here in Baltimore. I wanted to just open us up for a quick round of Q&A in case anyone had any specific questions for Marion before we go on to the next speaker. So if anyone has any questions, we can pass the mic around. Sure. Can we, let's see. Thanks, Laura. Who's here?
Hi, I was curious to know how the youth get connected with your organization. So how do they find you, or do you go out in search of them?
these mentors go and find the kids wherever they are, whether they're in matches of soccer or basketball or churches or community centers or whatever they are. Can you hear me well from here? Should I go to the... Any other question?
Where do the students mention that they get connected to job opportunities? Who are the employers you partner with, and what are the type of jobs that they go into? And how do you find them also?
Tenemos una alianza con la Secretaría del Trabajo y con algunas personas interesadas en apoyar el programa. Son alrededor de 100.
Más de 100 empresas.
Más de 100 empresas con las que colaboramos y que cada día nos buscan para preguntarnos si hay un chico de Órale que esté interesado en trabajar.
So we do work with the labor department, and we also collaborate with other companies, about 100 or over 100, that looks us up to find out if there is any young people from the Orally program that have been trained with us.
Can you tell us like what kind of jobs there are, like some examples?
Ejemplos de tipos de trabajos que son.
En general se enfoca en que sean en servicio al cliente, porque eso nos ayuda a que desarrollen todas las habilidades que adquirieron durante el programa y que sobre todo también tengan prestaciones mínimas por ley que normalmente no las tienen y donde puedan tener oportunidad de crecimiento.
So generally speaking, we're talking about customer service kind of jobs, because that way that they can use the skills that they developed during the program, and also where they can get at least the minimum benefits that by law they should get, and many times that they are not available.
Trabajos, ajá.
De medio tiempo.
Trabajos también de medio tiempo que les permitan estudiar y trabajar.
They're usually part-time jobs that allows them to go to school and work.
Are there any other questions?
Say a little bit, you guys have been in Baltimore.
Let's use the mic, please, Linda.
You've been here for 3 days in Baltimore. Could you say a little bit about, is that right? 3 days? Could you say a little bit about what you've found to be similar to some of what you're grappling with in Tijuana, and some of what seems different? Kind of your impressions?
Entonces, sus impresiones en estos 3 días que han estado aquí, en las cosas que han encontrado similaridades en lo que con los que ustedes batallan en Tijuana y también
Yo creo que estamos muy impresionados justamente por haber encontrado, ¿no?, que los jóvenes aquí o las necesidades que se tienen son muy similares. Entonces, ya desde una forma como muy personal, desde mi trabajo, me parece que es importante entender justamente al adolescente como un ser humano que tiene necesidades y que no importa bajo qué contextos, ¿no? Nosotros pensaríamos que estando en Estados Unidos tienen muchas más posibilidades y finalmente nos encontramos con que no es así. Entonces yo creo que pensar en la subjetividad del adolescente y pensar que no es el adolescente, sino son las adolescencias, ¿no?
So yes, that's a very interesting question, because we did find a lot of similarities, and from my perspective, from my professional perspective, it was very interesting to understand that I can see here a lot of the same things that we are struggling with, especially human beings have this incredible need for understanding. And I would think like here in the United States it would be a lot different, but I think it's not the teenager, but it's like the teenager years. So I found a lot of similarities.
Just one more question. Thank you for coming. I'm curious about the 40 hours of peer training that you talked about and what that consists of.
Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Le quería hacer una última pregunta. Quisiera saber un poco más acerca de esas 40 horas de capacitación de joven a joven y en qué consisten.
¿Quieres?
Bueno, es un taller de habilidades para la vida y el empleo. Básicamente va enfocado en que estos jóvenes armen un proyecto de vida o elaboren un proyecto de vida, y se acompaña de talleres complementarios que básicamente incluyen educación sexual, las tecnologías, que ellos sepan utilizar PowerPoint, que puedan utilizar cualquier otro medio, e incluso se les dan pláticas de adicciones. Entonces, durante esas 8 semanas, ese taller los despierta a un proyecto de vida, y después de las 8 semanas, durante 4 meses se acompañan para derivarlos a ese proyecto de vida. Es decir, yo quiero estudiar, entonces me incorporo a una escuela, o a lo mejor yo quiero estudiar más adelante gastronomía y ahora voy a trabajar en un restaurante en lo que termino y concluyo mis estudios.
So yes, it's basically a life and job skills. It's basically life and job skills that they learn during this program, and also there is other complementary workshops, including sexual education technology, so that they can use a PowerPoint and other media. We also talk about addictions during those 8 weeks. And after these 8 weeks of training, then there is a 4-month follow-up period, and we make sure that they are piping into whatever their passion is. And if they like, for instance, if they want to study gastronomy, then they start working at a restaurant in the meantime that they get trained to work in whatever they want.
Thank you so much for your questions. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to have us move on to the next set of speakers. We are very excited to invite a number of youth leaders from Baltimore, and I'd like to invite to come up and sit at the table here Imani Victoria Bryan, Sean Burnett, Devon Patterson, and Lamontra Randall. Could you all please come up and take a seat? Thank you so much. These young people are leaders in their own right here in Baltimore, and in addition, they have participated recently in a really interesting research project where they went out into Baltimore and really talked to young people to better understand what are the challenges they face in terms of getting connected to the workforce, what kind of things they could potentially, what needs they have, and how could organizations in Baltimore better support them. So I'd like to introduce Imani Victoria Bryan. She's originally, can someone raise your hand? Okay, perfect, thank you. She's originally from Boston. She's a health and policy analyst in the Office of Youth Violence Prevention at the Baltimore City Health Department. She previously worked at the Center for Urban Families and holds a bachelor's degree in anthropology from Davidson College and a Master of Public Health from Morgan State. Welcome, Imani. Sean Burnett. Hi, Sean, who was born in Washington, D.C., but raised in West Baltimore, is the founder of Walks of Art, a community organization that aims to positively influence the cognitive development, emotional health, and social lives of underserved youth in Baltimore City through arts education, recreation, and mentoring. He's a fatherhood specialist at the Center for Urban Families and holds a bachelor's degree in nonprofit management from Coppin State University. Devon Patterson is an East Baltimore native, an entrepreneur, community organizer, and consultant with the Be More Group, which he co-founded, and has developed a passion for gun violence prevention and community empowerment. He received a bachelor's in psychology and a master of public administration from Bowie State University. Lamontra Randall grew up in East Baltimore also, where he still resides, and he's co-founder of the Be More Group with Devon, I gather, where he bridges the gap between institutions and those who need their services. He has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a minor in Asian American studies from University of Maryland at College Park. A very, really a talented and well-achieved group. So please, I'll pass it over to you guys for your presentation on the research you did. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, everyone. We just briefly want to take a second to explain the role that we specifically brought to this project. And Kieran, I'll just move it a bit closer. Go ahead. So in my role, I specifically emphasize the need to examine the role of social determinants of health and how it contributed to the inequities that are inherent in the Baltimore City workforce development infrastructure.
Yes, in my role, I just ask questions. Really. Just, I guess, things that I personally would be interested in had someone been interviewing me for this research study. And so then I just posed them to the group as alternatives to what the group may have come up with already.
Okay. Hello. Is this thing on? Broke it. All right. So it's not Lamontre Russell. It's Randall. If anybody trying to Google me, it works now. Okay. Man, over here breaking stuff. So my role on this project was as a grassroots strategist and mediator. I played a crucial role in emphasizing local small businesses like Turret Cafe, who often hire and take chances with our opportunity youth. And I was often the guy that make everyone think about that person that we often think about that work at McDonald's, that wants a second chance at a new career path. So.
Good. Thank you, Lamontre, not fully breaking the mic. And the role that I played was I integrate the macro and the micro systems into a way where they can effectively and efficiently best serve opportunity youth here in Baltimore. And outside of that, I act as a translator from technical terms to reach inside of layman terms to reach the community where they are.
So we just want to share what were the core highlights of this project. There were 3 core dynamics that we wanted to explore and address. And the first was distilling the aspirations that Baltimore City's youth have and unearth the best pathways for them to fulfill their dreams. That was one of the most prominent and pressing issues that we explored throughout this project. We also wanted to take the time to assess the capacity of the small business community and big market industries and to appropriately assess how are they engaging Baltimore City's youth. And we want to use the information from these conversations with the youth and the business community to inform the future of training, design, and delivery. And also just to contextualize how we got to this moment where the KC Foundation ended up tapping on our shoulders to sort of guide and develop this work. Our team leader, who was Danielle Terrain, and former Baltimore Civic Site Director, really had to advocate for a team that looked like us to do this work. It was vitally important that Casey and their peers sort of shift practices of how they do community-based participatory research and how they inform their decision-making process. So to be able to go to the community and uplift their work as subject matter expertise was new to Casey. So we just wanted, Danielle's here today, so we wanted to take the time to just thank her for that advocacy. And we hope that from with the findings that we shared today, that you all take the methodology that we use and integrate it into your own work.
So as far as the individual group process, we brought together a total of 7 consultants from varying backgrounds, from grassroots advocates to people who deal with research and policy, to individuals who deal in education. So it was a culmination of people with various expertise areas. And we came together as a brain trust, really. We are all from Baltimore City in some capacity, all over the city, so it's not just one locale. And for the process, it was like Imani just said, it was community-based participatory research, because we saw it to be the most equitable form of research that we could do in the city, where we bring all the stakeholders together, the individuals who make decisions and the people who the decisions are made for, so that we can hear their voice. We did a combination of engagement types. So we did community conversations where we went to the actual corners or local businesses to talk to individuals that frequent the areas. We did some group discussions with local entities such as the Center for Urban Families, Yo Baltimore West Side, the Men and Family Center on East Baltimore, and Safe Streets in East Baltimore and Monument Street. So we went to a number of neighborhoods and talked to a number of individuals about what they felt the workforce community how they felt the workforce community could better help them in their assistant needs. The research was also founded in African American research paradigm. One of our colleagues, Devon Love, who was not here today, He spoke about that, so that's not my word. Please do not credit that to me. It's not my phrase. But because we wanted to be explicit about African American research and the way that it may differ from mainstream research models. And to say that is not to take away from them, but we deal with a specific group of characteristics within this demographic that traditional research methods may not account for. So we definitely use the expertise of individuals like Naeem Akbar and the way that he does research in the African American community and other individuals of such. And then for us, we were very explicit about going into Black communities because we know the population of Baltimore and the individuals that may need the most assistance in the workforce area are Black and brown people in Baltimore City. So we were very explicit about being that. We went into their neighborhoods. We did not have them come to spaces that were not unsafe to them. So we wanted to make them as comfortable and as open as possible because we would not get the truth without them being in vulnerable states. And to be in a vulnerable state, you have to be comfortable within your setting and with the people that are with you. So for our process, that's really how we did. We also took a trip to Detroit so that we could do a landscape analysis as well from a similar city. So there are a number of things that we did over the span of like 6 months that may normally take longer times to do, but we were in a crunch. So we definitely did what we could in the amount of time that we had to really get an honest, forthright aspect of how workforce can better Baltimore youth and young adults.
And during our on the ground work, we have several recommendations from our report. So I'll lay out my top 3 in my eyes, which was wraparound services to help eliminate crucial barriers. Youth in this demographic have immediate problems outside of work, so really taking care of the barriers that these youth face immediately will help eliminate some problems. Strategic partnerships is needed to really make an impact. We need to alley-oop them to success. You know, having money is important, but not knowing how to spend that money is also important. You know, we gotta teach them financial literacy. Being on time is important, but having reliable transportation is important as well. So, you know, discussing them different barriers. And my second and third recommendation, they kind of overlap and are similar, and it deals with community outreach practices. One thing I would say is do not keep your program as a secret. Get it out there. You know, your program could be the hope that these people need. You know, and meet the community members where they are. So what does that mean? Social media. All the good programs that we saw that were really effective, they had Facebooks, they had Instagrams, they had Snapchat, they even had Twitter. Don't be scared to create it, because you never know who life you could change. You know. Then the next part would be going to the underfunded spaces, you know, that may not look as attractive as everything else. Most of the times, these spaces are underfunded but overutilized. Like the people in the community, they love these different rec centers and different home organizational spaces because they have a deep history of being involved with the community, and the community trusts them. They trust them already. So look to partner with these different spaces and organization. Then also, lastly, be innovative. You know, be fearless. If you're scared to talk to the people that you want to serve, then we have a problem. So.
Thank you, Lamontre. Before I begin my recommendation, which you all can see inside your pamphlet that we handed out at the beginning of the program, I also want to make sure that we acknowledge the 2 other consultant members that we have in our group that's not here with us, but they had significant roles. That was Kirsten Allen, and one of the roles that she played was she was the neighborhood leader within her community. So she brought in that neighbor nurturing component, so she could speak from that level. And then the next one is Brother Huey. Huey brought in, he was our non-technical accountability partner. So if you had too many people in here up on the decision making and the consultant team that talk too technical, he'll also ask you to bring it down. So make sure we speaking in a language that people can understand beyond the research and the technology of the work. So the next point that I would make is about the recommendations. And the first one is about building the capacity of some of the mentors within the target population. Oftentimes we look over these people because they're outside of the institutions in which we're working. And we have to see the community members and mentors that's already inside the community as assets. These people are something I call it key communicators, community communicators. These people help to disseminate the message and information that you want to get out there. They are trusted people within the target community. They can help to translate and connect you to the people in which you're trying to serve. The next point that I will speak on is a recommendation about the entrepreneurship support. Within the entrepreneurship support, we see that there was a need for entrepreneurship education. Oftentimes, opportunity youth are locked out of opportunities where there's lack of access to resources, information, or the job within itself. So these youth will actually create their own opportunities. So providing them with the technical support to build their own capacity is one thing, providing them educational opportunities, mentorship, and access to the resources to help them be able to receive the capital resources is really important. And one of the things that we have learned through this consulting project is that in an initial phase of it, entrepreneurship was a fun word, and the entrepreneurship education investment was a difficult thing. So we came about like the benefits of investment in entrepreneurship. It has transferable skills, so if they do not go inside the entrepreneurship sector, those skills are transferable, and you will see that inside managerial and leadership skills. An example of that is Chipotle training. Chipotle provide these managerial leadership skill trainings to their employees, and then even if they're not going to the managerial level, they know how to lead. So this is an example of how entrepreneurship investment is successful, and the Casey Foundation actually funded a project that had that support with Chipotle. The next thing I'll bring emphasis on is about training. It's like working to learn and earn at the same time. Oftentimes that we forget that some people are actually facing a deep need. They come from high poverty neighborhoods, so they have a lot more barriers that you are not accustomed to. So if you bring in a program that's at a national level, is accustomed to a different regional area, you forget about the individual needs of that community. Therefore, having the access of paying while you learn and study is really important, and it helps to eliminate some of the barriers. One thing that we learned inside of this project is that the youth here are taking on a lot of responsibility. Some of these youth are delaying education to support the whole household. So these are the type of things that need to be in consideration when we provide policies and programs on this particular topic. And then the last thing for the example is there's Baltimore City Youth Works program. You get to determine the level of need. And this is a summer program. This year we had 12,000 youth apply for summer employment. However, the city could not match the need for every youth, but we had about an estimate of 8,000 youth was able to get connected to summer employment. So that right there tells you that there's a need and desire to work at an early age, and we have to support that. And we may have to go beyond summer employment to a year-round employment, and that would conclude my recommendations.
I also wanted to share the last couple of points of our recommendations. We found that integrating youth voice into decision-making processes helps to improve programs and youth outcomes. So what does that mean? We really want to encourage you all to permanently integrate youth into your practices. So when you're holding meetings, to make sure that those meeting times are after school hours so that youth can actually participate, or going to their schools, going to where they're at, but you can't talk about them without them being at the table. Another point that I wanted to emphasize that we found is that our youth thrive best when their mentors and community assets have the skills and support to have the skills and support to help them grow professionally. So what does that mean? That without having the right social network in resource poor neighborhoods, that tends to restrict the available job information and context that provide youth with employment opportunities. So we not only have to engage the youth, but we have to make sure that their community assets and their mentors have the information as well. Because you might not be the best messenger to share job opportunities, but they'll listen if their mentor has that information. And lastly, I wanted to talk about the mismatch that we found between the workforce development training, the youth aspiration, and the growing job market. We found in Baltimore City that there's a growth in the STEM field as well as the business field, and that the job training programs in Baltimore City are really focused on hospitality jobs in construction. Not to say there's no value in that work of those training programs, but as Baltimore's workforce is becoming more global and evolving, we need to make sure that our youth are prepared to enter into those systems as well. So we need to reassess the curriculums that are being taught and invest in making sure that those curriculums include biotechnology, coding, and things like that. Thank you.
And the following conclusion is the next steps. Some of the things that we have concluded of the next step is policy and intervention is being created, and how it can help see this thing through. Policy recommendations is one thing, but policy that actually being implemented is another thing. So actually seeing the policies and recommendations through is the next step. We have a few of those recommendations. We not only like to see these type of recommendations be implemented in the funding, our funding partners, but also from government entities and even down towards the private sector, where you talk about workforce development support. The next one is just one that like how Casey has already, Casey Financial Foundation support for the recommendations of entrepreneurship and youth inside the city. That's really, really important in how Casey continues to ongoing to incorporate youth inside the institutional decision making. And one in particular is there are a few other consultant projects that we're actually a part of right now that shows it and demonstrate that youth are still involved inside the institution decision making, as well as we're now helping to build the capacity of other community members so they can advocate and push for immediate change inside their communities. And the final thing is the dissemination plan. The dissemination plan that we're rolling out for the report that we had is a twofold approach. We will have a larger launch where we're talking to the institution and like I say, the technical people. But then also going back inside the communities in which we have derived the research from and delivering our findings and the next steps and how we can better support them. Because what we have found is that the ongoing support and communication is real important, opposed to just doing a helicopter approach coming in and leaving out again. These are the things that's really important. Dissemination plan, so having that two-tier approach of rolling out the information is really important from the institutional side of things back inside the community. And we're rolling out this plan of findings really soon, and we're looking for smaller groups such as yourself. Y'all can invite us out where we could talk more thoroughly about the findings. And if you'd like to invite us out, you can reach the Casey staff to so we can set up things so we can bridge this and make this more effective plans.
And I wanted to emphasize certain aspects of research that we got. Right now, the overall report is coming to a close, like almost complete, but it's not there yet. So hopefully in the near future, you'll be able to get your hands on that and see the full report out of what we came to understand with youth in Baltimore City. But youth are very aware of what a job is and what a career is. And so they highlighted that I'll go in this industry for a job, but my ultimate goal is a career in which I enjoy what I'm doing and I'm making a sustainable living. They also wanted to be entrepreneurs, because what we found out in the workforce field is that many of them, even though they're in the workforce field, though a lot of them were employed, but they were not happy with their employers because their employers made them feel ostracized. So they wanted to become entrepreneurs so that they can hire their own people and give back to their community as well. So there's a large sense of community responsibility in our youth in Baltimore City. They want to give back to their communities and provide the opportunity for individuals who may not be given the same opportunity that they were.
Thank you.
So much. That was really interesting, and congratulations on the research. It clearly came up with some really interesting findings, and findings that we can really take and run with. So hopefully people in this room and others will be able to really implement some of the suggestions you all have put out for us. I'd like to now open it up for questions. Let me get a mic. So we're going to ask people to
Stand
stand at the mic stand, just because that will also help with the filming that we're doing. Great. Peter.
Hi, yeah, this was a great presentation. Thank you very much, and kudos to Casey for doing this. I have a question about one of the recommendations I saw, which Sean, you touched on a little bit, which is what's needed to engage employers to improve their perception of youth. And if you could just talk a little bit, any one of you, talk a little bit more about that. Do you have any kind of specific ideas of what's the problem and what needs to change so that employers actually hire youth, have a better perception, so that youth don't feel that sense of being ostracized in the workplace?
So I want to utilize so take marijuana, for example. At one point in time, it was socially unacceptable. Society is changing a little bit, so in many spaces, it's acceptable even for public consumption, but the laws have not changed. So there's a disconnect in what is good in popular culture of society and what is good on the other end in politics and business and stuff like that. So I think if you understand certain things that individuals are into in their everyday lives, and not condoning certain things, but understanding that you may have to shift the way that you look at different aspects of business, who your potential employees may be, what they look like, what their background is, such as Devon, he was saying about entrepreneurship skills and how they can become transferable. Maybe your perfect match for an employee is not wrapped in that gift that you assume that it would come in. So, like, if you understand that there are little nuances that you can become trained on, whether that's cultural competency or anything of that matter, like to understand that, okay, I may not be looking, my lens may be slightly skewed. So I may have to change the way that I look at things a little bit to understand that these are very well endowed employees, but maybe it's something on me. And at the same time, like, and this is my belief, like, we have a lot of job readiness employees in Baltimore City. They do job readiness, but they don't necessarily train these individuals for that job. So I think if we change that as well, so like we're getting you ready for the actual job and not getting you ready for the interview. So things of that nature, I think that can help.
I also think it's important for employers who want to engage opportunity youth in Baltimore, that self-reflection is integral to that process. That you have to be able to be willing, open and honest with yourself to look at what biases do I have about the community and how may that show up. And I think if you start at that point of reflection and start to think, well, if I really am truly gonna be honest about engaging an opportunity youth who has a criminal record, what does that look like? What does that look like? What does an engagement between myself and that individual look like? And how can I change that to be aware of all of the structural biases and racism that contribute to that experience and to that point of becoming a criminal offender? So I would also encourage implicit bias training. I know that Associated Black Charities does a lot of that. I think that could be a starting point for professional reflection.
Yeah, and I would say research your target group. I don't think we do enough job as like really researching and diving in. Like For example, I'm the chair of the Baltimore City Police Youth Advisory Board as well. So I'm advising the commissioner on how to engage with youth. And the reason why I say this is officers need the same thing. I did a ride along with officers, and it was like, why are they acting like this? Why are these youth acting like that? And I had to tell them, like, because you did this, a lot of the stuff that the way they acted is because of what was inflicted on them, and it's not something that they had control over. So like one way they was acting like that's because lead paint, high concentration lead paint poison in Baltimore. Also, not getting the right malnutrition. We have a lot of food deserts. So there's no way you could think critically if you got a empty stomach. You know, so knowing that is very important.
And lastly, to add on to beyond just saying the research component, talk to the employees, talk to people. We find that some of our most complex problems has a simple solution, and something as simple as how are you doing was preventing you from sleeping and eating at night. To actually understand where people's perspective, we can eliminate a lot of ignorance with education, and that education go beyond classrooms because sometimes it could be just something as simple as having a conversation with people. Great question.
So I work for the Department of Labor federally and Division of Youth Services, and we're challenged in the workforce system with a couple of areas where our workforce professionals really do want to help young people. They do. Most of them are afraid of the young people. You go to some of these neighborhoods, like, they're afraid. But where I think we fail and what I'm trying to work on some TA federally, we're launching a TA series next week, in fact, on WYOA, but is youth voice. And we tend to, as adults, think we have the best decisions for young people. But a lot of these young people have gone through a lot more in their life at 16 than I'm going through at 40. I'm like, really? You've done all that? And you have all that? And I'm like, I haven't done any of that. And my biggest push for the federal government, especially for dealing with opportunity youth, is to engage youth voice. And I want to hear more about engaging young people's voice. We don't trust young people to make healthy decisions, but we should. And there's a lot of pushback at the federal level to trust young people to help us. Let me say this. If they're part of 4-H or Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, we trust them to help us make decisions. If they're brown or poor whites, we're like, we don't know if you guys know what you're doing. So we need to start trusting our young people. Can you talk more about youth voice?
I'll be able to tell you this. I will first say have a champion, and we forget about that. Having an institutional champion, that could begin with you. Having a person there to help to amplify the voices of young people, and it could be a person that simply as somebody's already inside and have the trust of the institutions to help to amplify the voices. I would like to thank Danielle and Casey for taking the risk on developing an opportunity where you can incorporate youth voices in what you see happening at this project. And I would encourage even more institutions for taking that risk and having a champion inside the institution who's willing to develop and design the plane as we're preparing for takeoff. So having an institutional champion is really important, and then being able to design, to implement an engagement strategy that meet youth where they are, speaking, and that means not only physically, but mentally is really important, and be able to translate that language in such a way that the institution will understand, and the youth objectives is fulfilled as well. So that's a way that how we can do that, and that's what we have done here. And the youth will tell you inside our report, since we were close in age to them and be able to speak that language, they allowed us to build that level of rapport with them immediately and get that trust and accurate information out of it to help to incorporate.
Like the peer-to-peer partnership that our friends are training people to help peer-to-peer.
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
I want to say, like, I don't know what it's like to own a yacht. So I can't tell you how to maintenance one. I can't tell you what I would need and stuff like that. Like, someone that owns a yacht is a subject matter expert on that yacht. If I am poor and I am in need and I know that I lack something, why wouldn't I be a subject matter expert on what I need to help me become better in my life's trajectory? So I think we forget that the individuals who live in these circumstances are the ones who can best tell you how to help them out of these circumstances. Not someone sitting up here looking down on it. That they may have great ideas, but they still don't go through the day-to-day stuff and the challenges that individuals who go through these things. So they can tell you honestly what they would need. And what we found in this report is the youth already know what they want. They just don't have the opportunity to get there. So we would serve better just providing the opportunity and telling them what, because they know what they want. They know where they want their life to be. They know what they want their careers to be. They know what they want their educational journeys. They know where they want to go. They just need that pathway. They just need that connect. Maybe one person to help them get there, to motivate them, to open a door that wasn't normally open before, and then they'll be successful.
And I would also say that there's strength in numbers. If you are engaging youth and you only have one youth represented on a committee or a panel, that's youth tokenism. That's not true youth-driven strategies. So you have to find a way to let them participate, lead a committee, lead a planning process. And you can't be afraid for them to fail. They actually need to fail. And I think as an adult, we have to be prepared to facilitate what success looks like, getting back on track. Because the Girl Scouts, they fail, they don't always meet their cookie quotas. So we have to be just as open and willing to allow that to happen for opportunity.
Yeah, and I will end by saying eliminate the intergenerational bias. You know, we like, oh yeah, I'm Generation X, I'm millennial. You know, put away all of that and really understand that this is the most talented and diverse group of young people this nation has ever developed. And I'll give you a small example. Look at it is because of technology, and one small example. I have my goddaughter. She's 4 years old. She keep asking for my phone. I gave it to her. It was locked. I don't know how. I looked over to the right and she was playing music and playing the game. I'm like, how did she do this? But she already knows the pattern for my phone to unlock it. You know, like they really catch on stuff quickly. And once we really recognize the small things that this generation does, then we could really tap into that and help grow their potential.
Hi, my name is Renata Tanks. I'm with Baltimore City Public Schools in the Re-Engagement Center. So a lot of what you suggested, that's what we do. My supervisor always says I'm very particular about who I have in front of my kids. So what are, if any, do you have suggestions around training that the adults that are working with our students, with our Opportunity Youth, require? Because I know you said there's training for the community members who are the mentors, but a lot of times we have to think about the educators, the different partners that come in the building that may pass judgment on students. So what type of trainings, if any, would you suggest for us to try to implement or push into some of our schools with our students so they can pretty much increase their expectations? Because like you said, our students are very smart and very capable, but sometimes we just don't allow them that opportunity.
So I want to bring up the Associated Black Charities organization because they do a lot of the implicit bias trainings for the city. But the Baltimore City Health Department, I know Rachel is working with you at the rec, and she's going to be doing a trauma-informed care training. Baltimore City Health Department also does a lot of those trainings as well as mental health first aid. So I think if we're looking at trainings that also address the trauma that our students have gone through or our youth has gone through, that will help support that will help practitioners best engage with them.
Yeah, I would second. Like myself, I'm certified in trauma-informed care, and specifically, they cater to the demographic that you're working with. So it can, we may experience different traumas. So depending upon the audience, they can cater that skill training to what the needs are in that audience. Also, I can't remember the organization that has done it, but it was like a day in the life type of a deal. So individuals actually lived as the people that they assisted so they could get that understanding And something that's like very practical. If you've never seen it, just watch like The Boys of Baraka. Like watch that documentary, and you'll see like how dire poverty is here in Baltimore City, and it's um, a way for you to visually see like the needs that some of these children have in the city, and like without you actually being there.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. I deal a lot when it comes to Baltimore City Public Schools, and going from school to school, teaching about conflict resolution and mentoring. And actually, I'm working right now on developing a workshop to help with empowering the language that we use within the school system. A lot of times, these young people, and sometimes the teacher, we look down upon the youth that's acting up in the classroom. I encourage us to use language as, "How you doing, King? How you doing, my leader?" See, they may be acting up, but you gotta kind of frame it and twist what you think about them and recognize there's some leadership skill in that. Because when they do act up, the whole class act up, right? So you gotta change your frame. You're like, all right, look, you're a leader, but I need you to lead in another way. I need you to think cool is not acting up, but cool is being a positive role model in the classroom. So.
And lastly, I would say go beyond the textbook trainings. The reason I say that because textbooks have cookie cutter technical terms, and it's done by research, and sometimes research could be 3 and 5 years behind. So if that textbook has a cookie cutter training approach, that may not work towards the demographic that you're working with. Look towards that community to lead a design, a training to better educate the professional staff, because it's professional development. So incorporating a youth or a community member from that neighborhood in which that community, that school is residing in, that could be helpful with designing an accurate, efficient program so that better serve the school system. Because a lot of the school professionals are coming and living outside of Baltimore and outside of those communities in which they serve. And similar to the police department here in Baltimore, at first it was less than 21% of the police force here in Baltimore reside inside Baltimore City. And how can you patrol a jurisdiction you have no connection or knowledge of? So then you create this us versus them mentality. So that can happen inside our school system, and what we're seeing as well. So I will leave with having some youth-led professional development and community-led development training.
Thank you very much. Let's take one more question, because yes.
I love your hair, by the way.
I just did. Hello, everyone. My name is Danielle Perkins, and I work for Kaiser Permanente's Community Benefit. And my question is very similar to the sister that just sat down, in that in building a program, you know what you want the program to be, you know the youth you are trying to serve. Do you have any suggestions for engaging the parents when you're dealing with younger youth, like middle school? Because I know with programming that we do, some of our barriers and issues come with the families or the parents, and sometimes we try to be on the same page with how to deal with that, but we don't exactly know what to do. So I was just wondering if you had any suggestions.
In the health department, we're going through a similar challenge, and one of the best practices that we're implementing in addressing the child is just to take case management 101 and deal with the whole family and start to tackle their challenges, because we're realizing that we're never going to resolve any issues that the child may have if the parent is facing similar issues. So that would be my recommendations to, I don't know if you have the capacity to tap into some social workers or have a team do case reviews with you all, but that could best start the thinking process for how do you approach all the challenges that family may present.
Yeah, I would. So in my day-to-day work, I work with fathers specifically. So engaging the parents, especially in the school system, is something that we tackle with So for us, I would piggyback on what Imani said as far as having some sort of case management, and if you can implement like wraparound services, because two gen work is definitely applicable in that situation. Like in order to get the child somewhere, you have to work on the parent if they have barriers as well, and then like providing some sort of incentive for attendance. I know a lot of people come out if they can get something. And it might be as simple as food, like they providing them a dinner or a lunch or something like that, or giveaway bags. If you ever go to a resource space, people just walk around bags taking stuff from the tables, and having something to entice them to come, and then preferably have it on the end so that they stay. But like, so like having something that would incentivize them to come, and they may come for the incentive, but then they may understand, then they may be interested in the reason that they're there.
Yeah, I think Sean made a great point. And one thing he was talking about the resource fair, we got to recognize that the parents have their own barriers as well too, that needs to be addressed because sometimes since they facing that barrier, it gets let out on the children, and the other youth who may be participating in your program. And the one,
Speaking towards addressing a lot of points that my colleagues have already mentioned, addressing the whole family. And one of the initiatives that we have developed at the Be More Group is Be More Family. And what Be More Family is a play on words, be more family-like, but also it allows the community to be more family-like. And what that means is we use food as a vehicle to drive community, conversation, and social change. Because oftentimes we forget about the level of need, and a lot of information is exchanged over dinner. And once we have your bellies full, that nourishment, then we'll be able to get to your mind. And at these events, you provide them not only the resource fair, the food, but the education. So now that we're addressing a lot of the needs and allowing the parent to come in to get that I call parent development just as well as professional development, you have the needs addressed for as like child care, having a program where their child can have the activities to keep them occupied while the parent gets the education in which they need. So having these type of programs and initiatives is how you address the needs of the family. That the adult education is really important. And lastly, the financial literacy program that we have is a program that helps and can be transferable intergenerational. The parent can do this game and app with the child or singular. So having these type of things, and they can actually reinforce some of the learning principles. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. This was amazing. Thank you all.
Heartily agree. That was incredibly inspiring. Thank you so much for all your wonderful insights and the work you're each individually doing for the benefit of Baltimore. We really appreciate that. And thank you so much for coming and sharing with us and